call this meeting to order. This is the April the 5th, 2021 regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of Goose Creek Consolidated Independent School District. Mr. Sampson, could you please confirm that we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
And was this meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
I'm keeping that.
Not on time, but it's close.
All right, so at this time, we will move into opening exercises. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good evening, President Woods, school board members, and Dr. O'Brien. We will begin opening ceremonies with a prayer led by Mr. Clem. Everyone, please rise.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time when we can be together to work toward the betterment of our school district. We ask you to bless each person here and be with our presenters tonight, as well as our board and superintendent, as we make important decisions that will pave the way for the future of our district. We ask everyone present to have safe travel on the way home. We ask these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clem. The United States Pledge will be led by Gentry Junior students Anna Flores, the Orchestra Council President, and the Texas Pledge will be led by Reese Harvey, who's in honors band.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Round of applause. Thank you to our Gentry Junior students. Now, I'll introduce Mrs. Monica O'Brien, our ELA instructional specialist, who will recognize our Scholastic Writing Contest winners.
Good evening. The ELA department is honored to recognize the 2020-2021 Regional Scholastic Writing Contest winners, in addition to the students who also received honorable mention for their outstanding writing and effort. The first recipient is Giovanni De Hoyos. He is an 11th grade student at Impact Early College High School and received the Scholastic Gold Key Award for his poem, The Gifts Forgotten. He also received an honorable mention for his critical essay, Socialism, and both works were submitted by Miss Emily Patrick. Our second recipient that's present this evening is Anjali Badal. She is a 9th grade student at Impact Early College High School and received an honorable mention for her poem, Spilt Milk, which was submitted by Miss Emily Patrick. And our final recipient that's present this evening is Kevon Haggerty. He is a 12th grade student at Impact Early College High School and received an honorable mention for his personal memoir, Optimist Club Football Super Bowl, which was submitted by Miss Emily Patrick. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Monica O'Brien. Now, let me introduce Mrs. Renee Dillon, our Director of Career and Technical Education, as she'll present the FFA State Show and TAFE, Texas Association of Future Educator Contest winners.
Good evening. The Career and Technical Education Department in Goose Creek offers 29 different career pathways from which students can choose their graduation endorsement. Each of these pathways have respective career and technical student organizations that compete at state and national levels. Tonight, we're proud to recognize students from 2 of those organizations. FFA students rise early to feed their animals each day before school and also have afternoon responsibilities to ensure that their animals are ready for show. Those who compete at state shows are up against a very large number in each class. We're proud to introduce Kenzie Pruitt, a senior at Goose Creek Memorial High School. Kenzie won first in her lightweight cross barrow or hog class at the Austin Rodeo Livestock Show. And although we've had students place, I think Kenzie is the first since I've been here to actually win first in her class at a state show. We also want to recognize her teacher, FFA sponsor, Mr. Chris McLaren. And tonight we have Ms. Harris here representing Goose Creek Memorial High School. The Texas Association of Future Educators, or TAFE, is a co-curricular statewide career and technical student organization created to allow young men and women an opportunity to explore the teaching profession. TAFE is sponsored by the Texas Association of Secondary School Principals and is governed by a board of directors comprised of teachers, students, and principals. It is a crucial part of GCCISD's Grow Your Own Teacher Development Program, as we hire many of these students as paraprofessionals and as teachers once they become certified. A record 12 students from Sterling High School's Career Academy for Future Educators advanced to state TAFE competition last month. McKenna Bogle, 11th grade student at Ross Sterling High School, won a bronze certificate at state on the Educational Leadership Fundamental Test. And in the back, I think we have grandmother Kathy Ziegler. Next, we have Alondra Santibanez, 11th grade student at Sterling High School, who won a silver certificate at state on the Educational Leadership Fundamentals Test. Catherine Hoffpower, and a junior at Sterling High School, won a silver certificate on the Educational Leadership Fundamental Test as well. Next we have Jasmine Versosa, a senior at Sterling, who advanced to state in 2 categories. She won a silver certificate in the Educational Leadership Fundamental Test, and she also competed in the state's K-3 children's literature competition. Next, Cassidy Rogers, a sophomore at Sterling High School, advanced to state competition in 3 categories. She advanced to state with her creative lecture submission. She won a silver certificate on the state Educational Leadership Fundamental Test, and she is a national qualifier on the Middle High School Interactive Bulletin Board competition. So we want to wish her all the best of luck at her national competition in June. Joseph Hoffpower, freshman in the Sterling Academy for Future Educators, won a blue ribbon for his elementary interactive bulletin board project. Presley Francisco, a senior at Sterling, not only placed at state, but is also a national qualifier for her elementary interactive bulletin board project. Kelsey Birch, another senior at Sterling High School, advanced to state in the Educational Leadership Fundamental Test. Valerie Garza, a junior, advanced to state in the pre-K literature category. All 12 of these students are blessed to have Ms. Shannon Rogers as their Taffy sponsor. We also want to recognize Mr. Chaddock, the principal. We want to make sure, again, we wish Cassidy and Presley good luck in their national competition. Kenny. Oh, no, they weren't yet. Yes. Mm-hmm. Goose Creek Memorial High School also has a strong Taffy organization with 2 seniors who advanced to state competition in the Educational Leadership Fundamental Test. Talia Houston, a senior, earned the bronze certificate on the Educational Leadership Fundamentals Test. We want to recognize Miss Deborah Turner, her teacher at Goose Creek Memorial High School, and her Taffy sponsor. And again, we have Miss Charlotte Harris here representing Goose Creek Memorial High School. And I just want to say, how many of these students advanced taking a test? And, you know, that is one of those benchmarks to become a teacher. You have to get past that test. So I was kind of excited that they see that these students are challenging themselves with the test component, not just doing some of those fun projects.
Okay, great job to our Taffy and FFA students. Thank you, Mrs. Dillon, amazing job. With that, I'd like to turn the meeting back over to you, Ms. President Woods.
Thank you. Okay, so moving forward, we will continue on to item number 6 on our agenda, which is citizens participation. I do have one sign on here for citizens participation. Mr. Cody Northam, if you are here, please step to the microphone. Citizens who have registered with the recording secretary may address the board on matters other than the character or any staff, student, or board member. Since the item addressed by the speaker may not have been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Law, board members may only listen to the individual statement and may not discuss the item with the citizen or take action on any matter that is not on the agenda for the evening. Each individual heard shall be allotted no more than 3 minutes for the presentation, and we only have one signed up, so you have 3 minutes to speak to the board tonight. And Mr. Sampson, our board secretary, will be your timekeeper up here, so he'll let you know when you have 1 minute remaining on your time. If you have any other questions about the procedure.
No, that's it. I just want to, if I could, hand these over to her. She could pass them out to everybody.
Ms. Garcia, that would be fine, please.
Good
Okay,
evening.
so when you're ready, sir, well, we'll start your time whenever you're ready.
Okay. The reason why I'm here this evening is I put together some research over these things right here. I became concerned after my daughter started complaining about headaches, so I thought I should put together some research I did on my own. The first about 25 pages has different countries around the world, the date that they instituted their mask mandate, and then I circled the date. And then it shows a curve of how many confirmed cases. If you look at every single, about first 24 pages, the curve goes up no matter what. No matter when they instituted it, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you look at about the 25th page, that country, Sweden, if you look at their graph, you can compare it to every single other graph there. They look exactly the same. On top of that, about page 27 or so, the healthcare, or the dress and grooming standard philosophy in the handbook states that shall not create a health problem or safety hazard for students or others. I got a study done up in New York by the Journal of Infectious Disease that says nurses and doctors had symptoms including headaches, skin breakdown, acne, impaired cognition. Some of them required even physical or medical intervention to be helped. I got another one in there that dentists have increased concerns about the breathing in the hot air all day, increased tooth decay, inflamed gums, bad breath, gum disease, etc. And aside from that, that policy not necessarily being followed, I know we're all trying to make things work, you know. I understand that part of it.
You got 1 minute.
All righty. So I think if you would really take time to read all that, it might give some people a little bit of education on, do they work, do they not, is it hurting people, is it not? I don't know if y'all just saw GCCISD is being sued over this. I don't think we need that here. I don't plan on suing, by the way, but I was reading the article today and I thought, wow, this is really what we've come to, instead of coming here and addressing everybody like this, giving some people some information that maybe they don't have, make some informed decisions on our policies that we implement on our kids. All righty. Thank y'all.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And this evening, President Woods, I don't think they're up to pocket citizens participation, but I did have a couple visitors. They are doctoral students from the University of Houston Clear Lake. We have future Dr. Janie Jimenez and future Dr. Verona Garza. Wave, ladies, say hello. Thank you for being here tonight.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. So that concludes our citizens participation portion. We will now move on to item number 7, approval of minutes from the March 1st, 2021 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion for approval of minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Laredo and a second from Mr. Cotter. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All in favor, so that leaves none opposed and none abstaining. Motion passes. Item number 8 on the agenda are discussion items. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr. O'Brien, for superintendent's report.
Yes, we will be welcoming Mr. Bollinger, Ms. Passmore up to do a presentation on the naming of future facilities. In particular, this evening, I think they'll be talking to us a little bit about the Green Center and elementary number 17. Welcome, guys. If you'll press the button until your mic turns green.
I think I'm good. Check. Okay, good evening, President Woods, Dr. O'Brien, Board of Trustees. We are here to do the presentation on the naming process for elementary 17, then also we will conclude with Green Center. And so without further ado, this is the process we typically follow when we name a facility. As we know, elementary 17 is in the process of being built. I believe the completion date is around December of 2021, so we're all excited about that. So it's about time to name Elementary 17. So tonight we will review the process and also talk about board policy and what it states in CW local. And then usually the next step is a nomination window, a time window where individuals can solicit written input. After that, community input is solicited as well, as community members are able to come either through a public forum or through citizens participation. So that's the next step. And then finally, the Board of Trustees opts to name a school. And so that's the process that we want to talk about this evening, as well as the timeline. So just as a note, I think you do have a copy of the board policy. It was provided, so if you want to look at that in detail. But just a few things to consider. These items are the highlights of board policy. First of all, name of a living person shall not be considered according to board policy. The person must have made a significant contribution to either society or to our local district. The name should lend prestige and status to an institution of learning. The board policy also states that written nominations shall be submitted in a certain format, which includes what's here on the slides: biographical data, a significant contribution, what that person did to contribute based on the items listed in board policy, as well as why the school should be named after that person. So that's just a quick snapshot of board policy. The timeline that we're proposing tonight, of course, April 5th, we're providing the naming procedures, the naming process that we typically follow. On April 9th, if the board agrees, we will start announcing the naming process. We'll do this through a press release. And then we have a time window of April 12th through the 26th. That's about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, where individuals can submit written nominations. Mrs. Passmore is going to talk about that here in a second. And then on the May 3rd board meeting, you will receive a binder with those written nominations. And then also there may be an opportunity for a public forum depending on what the board chooses. And then on May 17th, there could be a recommendation for a name, where the board could decide on a name based off of that community input and the written feedback that you have received. And so that's we have 2 board meetings in May, and that's the dates are listed up here. And so that's that would be the quickest timeline with this process.
Okay, as for written nominations, we want all interested parties to submit written feedback to our board secretary, Noemi Garcia, and or provide verbal input, which they can do at the public forum, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes. The nomination will be presented in a brief 3-paragraph statement according to board policy. Matt talked about that a little bit, about what we need in it, and usually this is done in a letter format. And then the binder, of course, you will all have ahead of time so that you can look at all the submissions for names for Elementary 17. The public forum, now we'll talk a little bit about it. It may occur before or during the May 3rd board meeting, or it can serve as a standalone meeting. That's up to the preference of the board. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes, and it's recommended that a maximum of 5 individuals speak per nomination. And then, as we said before, a naming decision for Elementary 17 may be considered on May 17th if you choose. Which brings us to the Green Center. The Board of Trustees voted to name Junior School number 6 E.F. Green Junior School, which is wonderful, but that gives us 2 facilities in the district named the same thing. So we have the Green Center on Baker, as you know, Baker Road. So Goose Creek administration recommends renaming the Green Center due to having the duplicate names for the buildings. If approved, the renaming process will follow the board policy regarding renaming a facility. So, we do have the policy. You do have a copy of the policy if you want to look that over. And we will just need you to decide how you want to do the public forum and how you want to do the naming of the Green Center, current Green Center over on Baker Road. Any questions?
Yeah, I got one question.
Okay.
Real quick, the first item we talked about is that no one who is living could be named after a school or anything. I'm kind of half and half on that because, you know, when a person's living and they elderly and you name a school after them, at least they benefit from the reward of knowing something is named after them, and you give them their praise while they're living instead of while they dead. And I just have a little problem with that, but I know that's how it's always been, but maybe we need to review that again at another time, not right here, but at another time, because I think, you know, you need to give people praise while they're living, not while they're dead. That's just my opinion. That's not the opinion of the board, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, and that would require changes to CW local policy.
Yeah. Well, but that'll be something we have to take up.
Correct.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
The timeline for the Green Center be the same as the elementary number 17, so far as the naming process?
It could, yes.
There are some
simultaneous.
calendar issues that we'll be talking about a little bit later in the meeting as well. Some calendar related issues, board meetings and those types of things that we may adjust a date here or there, but the process could be the same. There is one exception to auxiliary buildings that you may or may not implement. If you wish, as a board, we may proceed with the auxiliary building naming exactly like a school campus, but there is a distinction in CW local.
Yeah.
Which would allow for the naming process to be shorter.
Yes.
Okay.
What?
So is that something we should be discussing right now?
So you don't necessarily have to discuss it right now, but basically the way that the policy states is that if a facility is deemed appropriate to rename, then you can follow the process for the naming of the facility. Like Dr. O'Brien just stated, if it is an auxiliary facility, the way that the board policy states is that if there's a minimum of 5 votes, the board can vote on a name without following that process. So you have, the way that I interpret it is you have one of 2 options. It's either to follow the traditional process of naming a facility or vote on a name without going through that process because it's an auxiliary building.
Right, you'd have to have 5 affirmative votes. Or 5 for that name.
Building's going to be what now? What is the?
It's what we've deemed public service. It's not municipal, it's a school building still, but it is where our police station, our police officers are housed, the truancy office, and the tax office. So they're deemed as municipal type employees, but they are, we view them as public service. So whatever the building's name might be, it may be something public service.
So it can be generic if we want. It
could be Goose Creek, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The item on the agenda for this evening following this presentation is your consent to change the name, not what to change it to. Does that make sense?
Correct, yes. It's to vote whether or not to proceed with renaming Green Center.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Great
you.
Presentation.
Thank you for the presentation. Okay, Dr. O'Brien, if that's it for superintendent's report, we will move to number 9 on the agenda, action items.
Yes, ma'am. We have a few visitors as well. For action items 9A, B, and C, I'd like to invite up to the desk Kevin O'Hanlon with O'Hanlon and Associates. Kevin, I didn't know if you brought anyone with you or not. If you'd like anyone from Goose Creek to join you, you're welcome to do that as well. Welcome. You're on your own, Kevin.
I guess so. Right behind me. Tonight, before the board for its consideration is a new Chapter 313 application from CP Chemical. It's for an expansion project at their existing facilities. Before I get into it, State auditor requires me to ask you some questions with respect to conflict of interest. Under 171.002 of the local government code, the Board of Trustees may not vote or consider action on an item for which they have a conflict of interest. The conflict of interest consists of ownership of 10% of the stock of the entity, seems unlikely, or owning a stock of $15,000 of CPCAM, or receiving 10% of your income from that company.
Mr. O'Hanlon, I believe all board members have submitted their non-conflict of interest statements to Board Secretary.
All right. So could we have that included in the minutes that they have submitted that and then attach the conflict of interest?
Yes, sir.
This is a plant upgrade. This will, for your consideration, this will be considered, essentially, we have a Covestra one that we brought on the 1st of February. So we'll be kind of going through the process at the same time in terms of what's out there. There are significant developments in the legislature with respect to these projects, or that may affect these projects. Probably not, given what they have said with respect to existing applications. They've kind of said it's ollie and free on existing applications that are in place at the time that any statutory change. The Chapter 313 of the of the tax code will expire, but the applications that are currently set to expire in 2022, applications that are on file are exempted from that expiration. So we don't have any difficulty with respect to that. Again, with respect to the negotiation of these, the provision of 48256D will be a significant issue. That is the one-year lag that's built into the agreements. There will be discussion over that, as there is in the legislature, about the impact of that. With respect to supplemental payments, the size of the number ADA in this in this district makes that not a major restraint, because you have enough. Get $100 per ADA times 16 years. You have enough ADA to absorb an awful lot of investment or supplemental payments. We are aware the Covestro came earlier. This is the second one. We were going to look at the finances of these together. It is our understanding that you are looking at certain projects with respect to the cash flow of these, and we'll be looking to negotiate these in a way to expedite your other objectives in the district. In addition to that, there's an action item for the hiring of consultants. Mo Casey and our firm are up for that. We humbly ask you to consider us. There are other folks out there, but we've had a fairly lengthy experience with the district. That's all I've got with.
Thank you, Mr. O'Hanlon. At this time, does the board have any questions for Mr. O'Hanlon regarding this 313 application? If not, administration would then recommend approval. We'll list them individually. Action item 9A, consideration of conflict of interest provisions of matters relating to Chapter 313 economic development agreements with Chevron Phillips Chemical Company LP, and would hear from the boards.
Do we need to approve that?
Yeah, that's what
I'll move to approve.
Yes.
No action if we just had to submit our conflict of interest statement. Okay. So no action on.
Okay, so 9A, 9B, consideration of action item relating to a new application for value limitation agreement from Chevron Phillips Chemical Company LP pursuant to Chapter 313 of the Property Tax Code.
Move for approval.
I have a motion from Mr. Laredo and a second from Mr. Clem for 9B, consideration of action item relating to a new application. Any questions or comments? All in favor of that item? Motion? So all approved, leaving none against and none abstaining. Motion passes for 9B.
Action item 9C, consideration of hiring consultants for new Chevron Phillips Chemical Company LP Chapter 313 application.
And okay, so
Administration recommends.
administration recommends.
I move to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Clem and a second by Mr. Poppy. And I just have a question that covers Moat Casey and O'Hanlon. Okay. Any other questions or comments? At this time, raise your right hand for motion approval. Any against? None abstaining. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And to continue on that vein, we have action items 9D, E, and F. We have Ryan O'Hara with Huntington Capital Markets who will be presenting. Hello, Ryan.
Good evening. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. There we go. So I've got 3 items, as Dr. O'Brien said, and of course my presentation is a little out of order, so I apologize for that. Again, Ryan O'Hara with Huntington, joined with Selena Abraham and Clay Holland in the back. They're socially distancing from me, apparently. Page 1 of the presentation is simply a historical graph of the bond market going back to 1961. The bond buyer every Thursday afternoon comes out with an index rate. And again, you can kind of see the historic levels that we're at in the interest rate environment right now. We're right at a 240 on that index. Again, this comes out weekly, so it's a fantastic time to be in the bond market. What we're looking for your approval tonight is, and it's actually item F, and I will cover items D and E in a second, but item F is the third and final installment from your 2019 bond program. So we're going to be selling $90,365,000. A lot of numbers and a lot of colors on this slide, but it's a kind of a useful slide. It tells the whole story. The original bond program that we talked to voters is on the left-hand side of the page. We anticipated a debt service tax rate increase of 11.5 cents when we originally posed this to the public. The right-hand side of the page is where we think we're going to be after we sell these bonds, and it's going to be less than 7.5 cents. We think we will be below a peak tax rate of 33.5 pennies on the debt service side. Big factors that contribute to that are the interest rate environment that we sold into. We sold the bonds faster than we anticipated in bigger pieces, but assessed valuation growth has been very healthy for the district. And last year we did 2 refinancings of debt that was at higher interest rates, got them to lower interest rates, and we saved taxpayers more than $15.5 million. That's kind of set the stage. The AV growth, that savings, and our adjustable rate bond program have helped us achieve this goal. So we're very, very pleased with where that's going to end up, and we may even end up below that 7.5 cent mark. That's item F. The other items, we are in August of this year, we have $30.6 million in adjustable rate bonds from the Series 2014B issue. That rate is up for reset middle of August, and so we're seeking your approval tonight. They're highlighted on the screen here in that green box. Roughly 17.5% of the district's debt is an adjustable rate bond program. This is a smaller piece. We're recommending on this that we reset the rate out to August of 2026. This is a 5-year reset. I've got very conservative numbers in here. I'm showing a 1.65%. It's probably going to be closer to 1% based on today's market. So we're going to try and lock down the 2014 program. If we're able to lock that down based on my conservative estimates, if we compare what we would have sold these at fixed rate debt versus what we're achieving on the variable rate debt, the 2014 adjustable rate bond program has saved over $11.8 million for taxpayers. So it's been a very, very successful program for us. We do have another tranche of bonds that comes due next year from this issue, and we'll be talking to you about that as well. The other agenda item is a little bigger adjustable rate piece. This is $59 $1,335,000. This actually resets in October. We started resetting bonds in October because there was a bunch of school districts that were resetting their bonds in August of every year. So we pay debt February 15th and August 15th. So there's roughly 23 school districts just here in the Houston area that were all resetting their bonds on the same date. So just by kind of separating ourselves from the herd a little bit was a wise move. So these come due on 10/1 of 2021. You can see that's where the 59.335 lays out. Its maturities out in 2040 to 2049. Again, this is part of your adjustable rate bond program, which is comprised of about 17.5% of your overall debt profile. We're going to go 1 year with this. Again, I'm using very, very conservative rates. This is going to be well below 1% if we maintain this interest rate environment. But even based on that conservative estimate, the 2019 bond program, which we haven't been in too long, when you compare it against fixed rate issuance, we're looking at over $6.3 million in interest savings for taxpayers. So the adjustable rate bond program, along with low interest rates and that refinancing that we did, those two refinancings we did last year, have kind of set the stage for our overall bond program success. So I covered them out of order, I'm sorry, but I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about items D, E, and F.
That was a quick overview, Ryan. Thank you very much, and it does indicate the savings over using both models. So thank you very much.
You bet.
Any questions, board members? Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
At this time, administration would recommend that the board act upon item 9D, consider and approve an order approving new term rate period for Goose Creek CISD variable rate unlimited tax schoolhouse bonds, series 2014B, and approving other provisions related thereto.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Clem and a second by Mr. Poppy. Any questions or comments? All in favor of said motion, please raise your right hand. Seeing all in favor, leaving none opposed and none abstaining, motion passes.
Action 9E, consider and approve an order approving new term rate period for Goose Creek CISD variable rate unlimited tax school building bonds, series 2019B, and approving other provisions related thereto.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Poppy and a second by Mr. Clem. Any questions, comments?
Question.
All those in favor, I'm sorry, Howard.
Just
go ahead.
real fast. That particular slide, was it in here? Can we get it?
It is in your board book, is it not? I believe that's how I'm looking at it right now.
I'm looking,
it's
but
not in the board book?
No.
I've got some copies if we can.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a paper guy. I'm old school.
Needs kindling. Right. Yeah. Fireside reading.
Too soon.
Yeah, right.
A lot of trees, but don't worry about it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions or comments? At this time, seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Or your left.
Oh.
See, okay.
I didn't know we could
You're
switch.
not alone, Shay. Seeing all in favor, leaving none opposed and none abstaining, motion passes.
Administration would bring before you action item 9F, consideration and approval of an order authorizing the issuance of Goose Creek CISD unlimited tax school building bonds.
Move to approve. Second.
Put it right there.
Motion by Mr. Clem and a second by Mr. Poppy. Any questions or comments about item F? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand or your left. You too, I swear. That's all in favor, leaving none opposed and none abstaining. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Hare.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening. We'll get to work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, Dr. O'Brien, that takes us to 9G, consideration of consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. This evening, administration brings before you for consent agenda item G1, renaming Green Center. G2, extension of the resolution delegating authority to act in place of the Goose Creek CISD Board of Trustees during modified operations. G3, adoption of the resolution revisions to the 2021 compensation schedule due to emergency closure of the district. Consent G4, adoption of amended election order for Board of Trustees election for single member districts 1, 2, 5 for May 1st, 2021. Adoption, and G5, adoption of amended notice of election order. G6, construction manager at risk, CMAR, evaluation rankings and selection of delegate authority to the superintendent or designee to negotiate and to approve the contract and subsequent guaranteed maximum prices with Marshall contractors or subsequently ranked contractors for the fine arts renovations project for the district. G7, award CSP for maintenance equipment, supplies, and related services. G8, award CSP for police security equipment, supplies, and related services. G9, reinstatement of Goose Creek CISD Board Policy DED local compensation and benefits, vacations, and holidays. In G10, TASB Policy Reference Manual Update number 116. And G11, Superintendent Expenditures. Administration recommends approval of those consent agenda items at this time. Be glad to answer any questions. My team here sitting on the front 2 rows will be glad to answer any questions. Let me recall that. First 3, 4 rows. Okay, 5, 6 rows. My whole team is here, so we're happy to answer any questions you may have, but as you can see, they're mostly routine.
If we approve number 1 as presented, then we're going to follow the entire policy in CW local, right?
No. I'm trying to open that. I'm sorry.
We'll need recommendations and all that.
Is that what
the rationale says that if approved, the district would begin the naming process for this facility per board policy CW local. So we'll follow the nomination process.
Actually, you can choose either method that was discussed at the presentation.
Do we need to do that now? If we want to suspend the nominations and just have a name recommended, we need to do that in the motion now.
I thought we wouldn't.
That's a question. It sounds like a statement.
I believe the proposal in renaming the Green Center is permission to rename it, period.
Period? Okay. Then that's all I need.
Is that correct, Mr. Bollinger? One of 2 options.
Okay. But I guess my confusion is it sounded like if we approve, we're not doing any approval on naming the number 17? Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and our motion can say something different, but the recommended motion by administration is just recommending the approval of renaming the Green Center.
Good.
Okay.
Yes, we would entertain any edits. At your pleasure.
Are there any questions or comments or any discussion for any of the other items? 1 through 11, we've talked about item 1. Do we want to pull for separate consideration any of these others? Or is there any more discussion on any of the other action items? None, so we can take action items 9G 1 through 11.
I move to approve 1 through 11 as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Clem. I have a second by Mrs. Guy. Last chance. Any questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand or your left. Oh, Shay, you're tricky. All right, seeing all in favor, leaving none opposed and none abstaining, motion passes for consideration of consent agenda G1 through 11. Okay, that leads us to H on the agenda, report on continuing education credit. Do I have that report, or Ms. Garcia? Do I have to read that into the minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me get there. What page is that?
It's 247.
Okay, 247. Okay. All right, the report on continuing education credit for 2021 board training. Just total hours, or do you need the tiers? Board member Richard Clem has 3 tier 2 hours, 51.25 tier 3 hours, and has completed SB 1566 for tier 4 with a total of 54.25. Is that too much information?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to just say each board member has completed tier 4 SB 1566 student achievement, and Ben Poppy has a total of 31.75 hours, tier 2 and tier 3. Augustine Laredo III has 8.5 hours, tier 2 and tier 3. Tiffany Guy has 14 hours, tier 2 and tier 3. Shay Cotter has 13 hours, tier 2 and tier 3. Howard Sampson has 13.5 hours, tier 2 and tier 3. Jessica Woods has 9.5 hours, tier 2 and tier 3. And that's as of April 5th, 2021. Okay, moving on to agenda item I, adoption of the Texas Association of School Boards Superintendent of the Year resolution to nominate Dr. Randall O'Brien, Superintendent of Schools, for his exemplary and visionary leadership toward improving student performance in our schools. At this time, we have a resolution. Do I need to read the resolution? Or do we just need to adopt it? Because it has been signed this evening by one and all?
Yes.
Absolutely. So, seeing that the board has all reviewed and signed the resolution, I would take a motion to adopt said resolution for Superintendent of the Year.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Clem and a second by Mrs. Guy. Any questions or comments or thanks?
I am
Thank you,
humbled.
sir.
I'm humbled by the gesture. There's 1,200 superintendents in the state of Texas. I'm to be even considered among the this honor. I appreciate you.
We are certainly very proud to nominate you for this honor, and are resolved to do so at this time. All in favor, please raise your right hand or your left. Seeing all in favor, leaving none opposed and none abstaining, motion passes. Resolution is drawn.
Thank you.
I didn't know that was that.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to item J on the agenda, future board agenda items, board training, and board meetings. Number 1, future board agenda items. I would just like to let Mr. Chapa know that when we're hiring all these people going forward, that we prepare them to be in our future district that includes dual language programs across the district. So keep that on the requirements agenda for new hires. And hopefully we'll be able to pass a good enough incentive raise to attract all of those talented individuals. Are there any requests for specific board agenda items?
You and Dr. O'Brien seem to be fine.
We come up with plenty of agenda items? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Ms. Woods, what?
Yes, sir.
On one of the trainings we did, one of the districts had a board of students that was a diversity board that they made out of students for the district. And I'm not sure if it was all high school, junior high, or what, but I was thinking maybe we need to look into something like that, because years ago we talked about having a kind of like a school district, kids board at one time.
Like a student advisory board?
Yeah, sort of like that.
Advisory board, that we
Kinda
have
get a-
talked about that several
Yeah.
times, that it is a really, interesting prospect, something that would be nice to develop for the district. And I don't know if that would fall to Ms. Jackson's
I
group?
believe it would fall in any strategic planning. And
See, you got off the hook.
Mr.
Tag,
Bollinger,
you're it, Mr.
he
Bollinger.
would obviously be working with Ms. Jackson clearly on that, but but it probably will
I bet
align
the
with our
AEDs
strategic
should
plan.
probably help him out, too.
Yeah.
Excellent. And
What I was
so also, I guess maybe next month an update on how that's going to roll out would be great to have too. I know we're all interested in the start off of our equity initiative, our equity council.
We can get ideas and things from the campuses, from, students and everything. So kind of give us a little ear into what's going on and what needs to go on of that nature.
Okay, good deal. All right, so board training, we have a board where the summer leadership is coming up. What about national? When is that?
NSBA this week, the 8th through the 10th.
And we're registered. Okay, so I think I have received the login for it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But we don't get to fly anywhere.
Okay.
All right, so if anybody needs their registration stuff for that, please get with Ms. Garcia. And then we have SLI coming up in June. And is it still online? I believe it is virtual.
I think I've seen that it may be.
We have more and more things that are beginning to happen in real time.
Face. Yeah, so SLI may be back on, but
Out in San Antonio and
limitations on in-person attendance. So there is in-person, but there will be limited probably enrollment for that. So we might, if anybody is interested in attending that in person, let Ms. Garcia know so we can get on that before those seats are taken.
One of the things that they're limited by is hotel occupancy. We actually were blessed to attend a conference this past month, and it was about 50% capacity, the hotel was. So that's also reflective in the audiences and things of that nature. So
That's severe social distancing. All right, so in our future board agenda items, they updated us earlier about our board workshop for budgeting at our upcoming board meetings. And other than that, we have one more board meeting this month. We do have two this month in April.
I'd like to discuss some calendar dates with you.
Oh, no. Okay, I did see that we have something else on the calendar for April, though. I guess
That's the notes.
the workshop on the 14th, that's the Gulf Coast Area School Board Association? Okay, so there is a workshop on the 14th. If you can attend at 6 p.m., is that in person or still virtual? Okay.
One of those sessions is a repeat from governance. You might want to check those out and make sure you don't attend something you already attended.
What I was going to discuss is we do have only one meeting in April. We have two meetings in May. One of the meetings in May I have a conflict with, that's May 3rd, and then personally. And then also on July 5th is a day we'll be coming back from a federal holiday. So I didn't know if the board would entertain changing those dates.
What day will be the holiday, the work? The Friday, do we have the 2nd off or the 5th? The 5th, okay.
All right, and that's July. We're looking at July right now.
Right. But
So-
the other conflict for me personally is May 3rd.
Ms. Jackson can handle it.
I could have a designee. We could not adjust the calendar. I could have a designee, or since we do not have 2 in April, we could move that to April 26th. It would still be 4 weeks from today.
Dr. O'Brien, would that May the 3rd meeting be the one where we ratified the votes from the May the 1st election?
That's its own little meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's so many hours. I don't think we can do it on Monday, can we?
Dr. O'Brien, that May 3rd meeting, we were looking at bringing administrative contracts and teacher contracts to the board at that time. So whatever day we decide on, will be critical.
And
Correct.
isn't that also our budget meeting for May?
No,
The 17th is the budget meeting for
Right.
May. Okay.
Any day is good with me except that day. So.
Mr. Chapa, do we need to go backwards instead of forward?
It would help us if we went a little bit backwards.
May 10th or May 4th, 5th, or 6th.
If we went back, I was thinking we'd go back to April. Or
Back into April?
like that.
Yeah.
That's okay?
Yeah, that would be fine.
That'd be okay.
So Dr. O'Brien had suggested April 26th, which is the last Monday.
I'd rather do that than 2 weeks in a row in May.
Yeah. And we're having birthday cake for Mr. Laredo.
Yay.
That meeting. Anybody have a problem with the 26th?
Yes.
Okay, so April 26th will
Hang
take.
on.
Yeah, I'm still looking.
They're on the 26th?
Are you? Oh, sorry. You're looking.
All right, we're good. This end's good.
All right.
Yeah, that'll work.
Mr. Cotter, you're good? Okay, so let's change the May 3rd regular board meeting to April 26th.
That's okay with HR?
That will work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. The other conflict was the July conflict. And I know we're a couple of months away, but it just flies past us this time of year. And you have the leisure to make that adjustment tonight if you wish to, since we're making calendar adjustments. Do we have a recommendation?
Meetings do we have in July?
Administration?
Just one?
One. Let me see. Yeah, that's the only meeting scheduled for July is the 5th. And I imagine there will be travel calendars to consult, etc.
I know I won't be here the 12th, but I mean,
Okay.
that doesn't mean there can't be a meeting.
So we could retain it that week and go on the 6th or the 8th.
Of July.
6th or 8th work fine for me.
6. Okay, so let's say tonight the 6th, and then if we need to make adjustments sometime before that date, between now and then, we can look at it again. But for the time being, we will move the meeting from July 5th to July 6th. And then
Is that enough time?
we can revisit that as if necessary.
Posted on Friday, probably. Yeah.
So you could post it far enough.
Well, she could still post it on Friday.
Okay.
It's a,
Yeah, well,
But
holiday, Friday.
the minimum is 72 hours. The maximum's,
Right.
what, 10 days or something crazy like that? So we're fine.
All right, so July 6th is our tentative new date for the July meeting.
Executive Council, any conflicts with you, with other meetings and/or? Thank you. Thank you for the adjustments.
All right, and so just to be clear, in June, we have to have our budget adopted by a certain date.
June 30th, I think it's on the calendar for the 27th? 21st.
So the 21st is when we should be adopting our our budget for the year on the 21st. Okay.
A week early in case anything crazy happens.
Okay. All right, so I don't see any other questions or comments for item J, 1, 2, and 3. So we will move to item K on the agenda, which is the closed meeting. At this time, the board will now recess into a closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Item Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 072, 073, 074, 075, 076, 082, 083, 084, and 087. No action will be taken while the board is in closed session. And I lost my clock. The time is 7:59 p.m.
And those
The time is now 9:32 p.m. The board ended its closed or executive session at 9:30 p.m. on April 5th, 2021. We are reconvened. That brings us to our agenda. Let me find the one for tonight. Under CW, where are we? Okay, our agenda, we are at L, reconvene. M, consideration of personnel. Dr. O'Brien.
Yes, this evening, the administration brings to the board to approve 8 elections subject to assignment and place on teacher hiring scale, and approve 41 resignations and/or retirements.
We need to take them separate.
Move to approve.
We need to take them separate, yes. Let's do M1 first.
I rescind my motion.
Thank you, sir.
I will accept a motion to approve elections.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Clem and a second by Mrs. Guy to approve elections as presented. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? None, and none abstaining. Motion passes.
My apologies for rushing through. I would now at this time present to the board resignations and retirements as presented.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Poppy, a second by Mr. Clem to accept resignations and retirements as presented. All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Same sign. We have 6, 4, 0 against, and 1 abstention. Motion passes.
Administration would present to the board at this time consideration of administration personnel, approve the selection of a student wellness interventionist, recommending Melinda Crawford.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Clem and a second by Ms. Guy for student wellness interventionists. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing none opposed and none abstaining, the motion passes.
Administration would ask for the board to consider approving the selection of a coordinator for dyslexic services, Kimberly Chaddock.
I have a motion from Ms. Guy and a second from Mr. Cotter for coordinator of dyslexia services. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing all approving, none opposed, and none abstaining, motion passes. That's all of item M. We move to number 10, adjournments.
Second.
Any opposed?
Discussion.
You're staying here alone.
No
And the meeting concludes at 9:35 p.m., April 5th, 2021.